Chris Hart, Mason
Wow.
work. Look at that.
The sepia tones, classy.
I don't know if we've ever looked that good.
Yeah.
Like that's you and that's me, but
Right. They see those pictures and
maybe.
then they tune in and they see avert your eyes.
Oh, sorry. We could all drop a few lbs. That's for sure.
And
We
we
will
don't mean
go.
linebackers.
We will go on in 3, 2, 1. What a wild week in the National Football League. We had lightning delays. We had injuries just run rampant across this league, Bloom. We had whatever the hell the Cowboys were doing. How about them Cowboys? Bloom, we got a lot to get to today.
Cecil. Cecil, this is the kind of week that makes you say, why do I play fantasy football? Why do I encourage other people to play fantasy football?
Right.
Why do I pretend that I can predict anything with meaningful accuracy in fantasy football? But it keeps us coming back because we never know what's going to happen. And that really is the truth this week. We never know what's going to happen. And that doesn't always mean some spine tingling, exciting developments. At least some of the players got out of the week healthy.
Yeah, some of them did. Not all of them, that's for sure. Let's start with a wild one. Bills and Dolphins, 31-28, the final score. Bills are 2-0, Dolphins 0-2. And let's talk about Josh Allen, perhaps his best day as a pro. 24-35, 417 yards, 4 touchdowns, no INTs, and man alive, Stephon Diggs bailed him out on more than one throw, Bloom. The touchdown grab, he bailed him out because he actually had to slow down for it. There was what was that, a key third down play, I think, to move the chains late in the game, and Diggs caught her on the sidelines, and he bailed him out again because it was a poor throw, and I can't pronounce the Dolphins rookie quarter, the Auburn kid. Can't pronounce his name, but he was like right there.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, and whatever. And then Breida, and then Diggs like bailed him out there. Smoke Brown, love some Smoky Brown, 4 for 82 and a touch. Stephon Diggs, 8 for 153 and a touch. Gabriel Davis, the rookie, getting 1 for 6 and a touch. Reggie Gillum, nobody started him, 1 for 1 and a touch there as well. Devin Singletary, 10 for 56 on the ground. Zach Moss, 8 for 37. Dawson Knox had 1 for 38, by the way. And then Singletary, a couple catches, 20 yards. Moss didn't get any catches. So let's start with the Bills side.
Yeah.
Allen with this big day was the Dolphins. Their defense, a work in progress for sure. But this is the Allen the Bills wanted.
He's taken a step forward this year. There's still throws he misses. There's still throws, like you said, he gets bailed out on. But this is an Allen-centric offense now. This is Allen as really the first option. And we did see the running game look better against Miami than it looked against the Jets. Jets have a tough run defense. And still, they were, I don't want to say they were in control because the Dolphins fought back after an early deficit and then fought back really for the whole second half. It was reminiscent of last year's Dolphins. But Allen, now if we do a redraft, I don't know if he moves up that much because of how well some of the other quarterbacks are doing. But the point is he's worth more than what you spent to get him. Maybe the running game at this point is on our bench, Moss or Singletary, because Allen's doing so well finishing. If you took Stephon Diggs thinking talent, I'm taking the talent. And maybe you also factored in some improvement from Allen in terms of execution, in terms of efficiency because of the addition of Diggs. You're feeling great. And in this game, Byron Jones got banged up. Xavier Howard, how healthy is he right now? But still, this is definitely a game with Diggs that is going to make you keep him in your lineup until he probably burns you 2 weeks in a row. Smokey Brown bailed you out with a touchdown at the end. But it seemed like it clinched the game. Miami still had, Cease now, onside kick left. Game's never over today. But the Bills get 2 wins in the division, 1 on the road. Very interesting matchup with the Rams coming next week.
Tons of love, as John says on Facebook. Please give Josh Allen some love. Yes, 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 and yes. Ryan Fitzpatrick, at least he didn't throw a bunch of picks. Had 31 of 47, 320 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. Mike Gesicki, 8 for 130 and a touch. Devontae Parker, 5 for 53 and a touch. Isaiah Ford, 7 for 76. We'll be talking about him on the waiver wire show. Preston Williams 1 for 26 in this contest. And Myles Gaskin 7 for 46 to lead the way. Matt Breida 7 for 37 in this one. Very careful. Gaskin also had 6 for 36 a receiver, if I didn't mention that already. And then Jordan Howard got that plunge. That's his role, 5 for 4 and a touchdown. So you have him. I guess congrats. Get rid of him. The Dolphins make a comeback of it. I mean, score 15 in the fourth quarter, but fall short in the end.
Fitzpatrick did enough to win this game, or at least for this game to be in question more than it was at the end. It was Preston Williams with a drop on 4th and goal. It turned into a back and forth game after the Bills jumped out early. Fitzpatrick still showing after a pretty abysmal performance against the Patriots. And, we're recontextualizing. We don't have to recontextualize much about the Jets defense or the Bills offense or even the Dolphins defense. We know the Dolphins defense isn't going to be a good defense, but Dolphins offense viable, and maybe that Patriots defense, we'll see them tonight against the Seahawks. Maybe that Patriots defense, even with the losses they suffered, underrated. Backfield's going to be a 3-back backfield. You're still seeing Howard getting the goal line touches, not necessarily converting them. Myles Gaskin with his PPR floor is probably the safest play, but this is the model, and with Miami going forward, I don't think you're going to see them turn into a winning team to get Jordan Howard game scripts going on. Devontae Parker finished the game. Well, I shouldn't say this, right? I mean, I shouldn't say anything. Like anything that I possibly say by the time we're done recording is going to change. But he got an early touchdown on this one. He held up. And I think that at this point with Preston Williams looking like Bambi, as Gene Bramwell put it this morning, Cease, if you saw some of the tape from week 1, his legs aren't really under him. And then that drop at the goal line, that's not going to help his confidence. This game is going to help Mike Gesicki's confidence. A lot of it piled up in the coming back attempt, but that's what we're going to see from Miami this year. So Gesicki, not a total zonk in week 1, but a total stud in week 2. Isaiah Ford may be emerging as a more reliable target in those catch-up mode game scripts than one Preston Williams. So we're seeing a reordering here. Miami, there was some talk, so they're going to contend this year. Now, hey, if you have the Bills as number 1 team in the division, and they actually played them closer than the ebb and flow of the game would make you think, then perhaps Miami's not ahead of schedule, but on schedule to improve. What's exciting here, sees a team that is ahead of schedule, ahead of expectations. Thursday night, you look at Miami and the Jacksonville Jags, and you're like, nah, whatever. Well, this is going to be Fitzmagic, Minshew-mania. Sign me up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, man, sure. We had an exciting Browns and Bengals game last week, so maybe this is how bad 2020 is. Thursday night football is interesting.
Yeah.
All right, 49ers and Jets up next. 31-13 the final score. Not a lot to talk about in the game except the injuries. Oh, my God. Offensively, defensively. 49ers fans, I'm sorry. I mean, you got the win, but it's the Jets. I mean, if you can't beat the Jets, how bad are you? Hey, but Jimmy Garoppolo goes down. Bloom, give us the latest there. 14 of 16, 131, 2 touchdowns, no INTs before he's out. Both touchdowns to Jordan Reed. We were talking about him in the waiver wire show. As we know, George Kittle not in this contest. So 7 for 50 and 2 touchdowns from Reed. Kendrick Bourne, 4 for 67. Brandon Ayuk did play 2 for 21 out there. Raheem Mostert, 8 for 92 and a touchdown on a big 80-yard run. That was fun, huh? And Mostert also chipping in a couple of catches, 15 yards. They love Jet McKinnon. They have a plan for Jet McKinnon, and it includes 55-yarders, 3 for 77, and a touchdown rushing for Jet McKinnon. That's about it, really. But let's talk about the Bosa injury. The Nick Mullins, by the way, comes in 8-11-71 and an interception, so not as good as you thought. They really do like Nick Mullins. We've went over that on this show before, Bloom. But what an awful day for 49ers fans with these 2 major injuries.
Yeah, you looked at this one and you thought, oh, it'll be a ho-hum win for the 49ers. And it was, in the sense that the game was never really in question. The Jets never really put up much of a fight, but it came with a cost. First, some of the high points. Raheem Mostert, and here's what's funny. The Jets have a good run defense, and they do have a good run defense, but they gave up like 80 yards on the first run for Mostert, and then he barely got anything before he got hurt and left the game with a knee injury. And they gave up a 50-plus yard run to Jerick McKinnon on 3rd and 31. Cease, we need Chase Stewart. We need Chase Stewart, who is a Jets fan. Sorry, Chase. We need somebody who can go deep into the NFL data mine to come out with, is that the longest run a conversion on third down ever? So they actually held up the 49ers running game a lot of the day, but when they were bad, they were very, very, very bad. Jordan Reed's back. See, isn't this 2020 on a day that was one of the most cataclysmic, apocalyptic injury days that either of us can remember? Jordan Reed had one of his best days as a pro.
Yeah.
2 touchdowns. I mean, looking good. I mean, actually looking good. Actually looking like an approximation, unlike, say, Rob Gronkowski. Actually looking like an approximation of the player that we remember. And with George Kittle, I mean, maybe the 49ers look at this, because next week they get the Giants, all right? And, say, George Kittle, let the knee rest. Let it rest. I like McKinnon over Coleman as a pickup. We'll talk more about that on Tuesday. If Mostert's going to miss time with the knee injury, you have to assume. But it's possible that this was more of a total precaution. With Garoppolo, it wasn't. It's a high ankle sprain. I think that with high ankle sprain, a quarterback, I think, can play through it easier than, say, a running back or a receiver.
Right.
But you still, Nick Mullins had an interception. Nick Mullins wasn't flawless by any measure, but Nick Mullins is going to be, as we saw a few years back, he's going to be functional. I did look to Kendrick Bourne in this one if we're looking ahead to potential waiver wire pickups. But again, the cost here with the Garoppolo injury, with the Mostert injury, Solomon Thomas, most importantly, Nick Bosa. And D Ford was already out with a neck issue. D Ford not known for his ability to stay on the field. So this defensive line that was stacked, now we're looking at it. Meanwhile, DeForest Buckner is, messing up Kirk Cousins' day over for the Colts. So, yeah, it's Cease, marathon through minefield. I mean, this is going to be a season where attrition, depth, medical staffs, ability to get players back on the field and not mishandling injuries. This is it. Last week was kind of a typical week of waiver wires for week 2. This is your second draft. See, San Francisco heralding that. I don't think we're going to be picking up any Jets on the second draft round 2.
Right. I was going to say, do we have to talk about the Jets? I mean,
there's no law that says we do.
True.
Look, Chris Herndon. That's the main thing to kick out of this. Chris Herndon. I mean, in your 16-team leagues, Braxton Berrios caught a long touchdown on an improvisation. Chris Hogan. Well, they're down to their 5th receiver, so it makes sense. But yeah, I guess the only thing really to say here about the Jetsies is next week, that is going to be those Colts and DeForest Buckner. They're going to Indianapolis. This team is so bad. Even if they don't get the number 1 pick by record, the NFL should just pass some sort of rule that they get the number 1 pick out of sympathy for their fans.
Well, it is a Broncos show and a Steelers show, and today worlds collided. And the Broncos almost got a win with Jeff Driscoll. What?
Yeah.
Mike Tomlin, what are you doing? But Bloom, Steelers fans, right? Neurotic Steelers fan moment.
Yeah.
This is what they do.
Yeah.
They could play the Jets the same way as the Broncos and be like, barely beat the Jets. That's just how they are. Hey, 26-21 is the final score. The Steelers do get that win. They're 2-0. The Broncos are 0-2, and Drew Lock gets knocked out of the game. It's a shoulder injury. No word yet. I have my phone blowing up, Bloom. That's why I was texting at the beginning of the show. Like, people want to know. I want to know. I'm asking people, like, it's like, how bad is it? What is this with Drew Lock? Now, Jeff Driscoll comes in. He was awful. Regularly the butt of jokes in training camp. And he came out, he looked like a gamer. Although I hate that term, Bloom. Gamer for Jeff Driscoll. Cortland Sutton was back, went 3 for 66 in this contest. And then he went out. A little bit of a knee injury. Also some soreness had to be on that shoulder. Jerry Jeudy's in, of course, 4 for 62. 7 targets. Another drop from Jerry Jeudy. Went off his hands. Noah Fant, who they didn't throw to until what, the third quarter, Bloom? 4 for 50.
Right, it was just like last week, except they picked the second half.
Yeah, it was the reverse. Like, Noah Fant's great for a half, Eddie, and then he'll get 4 for something and a touchdown. What was it, 4 for 81 last week and a touch, and this week 4 for 57 and a touch. Whatever is whatever. KJ Hamler 3 for 48. I don't know why they ever throw passes at Nick Vannett. Like, seriously, Pat Shurmur, what are you doing? Melvin Gordon gets a receiving touchdown, 2 for 14 and a touchdown late in the game. He had 19 for 70 on the ground, 3-7 a carry. Sounds about right as his team dealing without Phillip Lindsay. So the Broncos show some heart, Bloom, for sure. Maintaining this fight, but without Drew Lock, with Cortland Sutton banged up again. Now another injury in addition to the shoulder, a little bit of a knee thing, whatever that is. We'll keep you updated. But this season could be disastrous for Denver.
Yes. And you give them the E for effort. Certainly, from what you can see of the culture Vic Fangio has created in terms of commitment and determination, it's all there, but they're just outgunned. Driscoll comes in, and the quintessential backup quarterback. Got some mobility. He isn't overwhelmed on the field. He's going to make himself a lot of money as a backup quarterback over his career, So congrats to him. Every game he does this is a game that he's going to prolong his earning potential. And he actually even create a little bit of earning potential for fantasy football. But still, you're bringing down the ceilings of all of these players, including Fant. At least Fant did come through in that half. Gordon looking good, actually running the ball early, showing that it wasn't just Saquon Barkley. It wasn't just Saquon Barkley. I know. It wasn't just Saquon Barkley. It was Gordon in the Broncos line showing something. So at least Gordon remains semi-viable. But they're going to face a Tampa Bay defense that is out for blood. I mean, this is a defense that is very rough after the Steelers. Certainly, we're going to watch, I think, see week to week that the week after teams play the Steelers, they're going to be a little bit slower. They're going to pick themselves off the ground a little bit slower.
Yeah.
Tampa Bay is a similar defense. So, yeah, the Broncos, not for lack of fight, not for lack of want to, 0-2. Tampa Bay coming, looking at 0-3. And the Steelers, yeah, the same old Steelers. I thought after last year, after these guys had to suffer through that they would not let an easy win slip through their fingers.
Right.
But personality Mike Tomlin, I think, is he just sends out vibes like, we got this. But in the NFL, you don't got it until it's 0-0. Ask Atlanta.
Ooh, onside kick. You can touch it before 10 yards, Atlanta.
Yeah, you're allowed to. Just jump on it if it's in front of you.
Oh, my God. Anyway.
It's the opposite of a grenade. You don't want it to blow up.
Let's talk about that Steelers side of things. And instead of 22 rushes for this team, I mean, the way that they had control of this, 17-3 at the half, right? Why wasn't it 40 carries as a team and 29 passing attempts for Ben Roethlisberger? Instead, it was 29-41 for Ben, 311, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT in this one. Deontay Johnson had 8 for 92 and a touch. And Bloom, as you know, it could have been much more.
Yeah.
Like there was a couple plays like, damn it, because he dropped him. It's like, or he just was not in position. And it's like Deontay Johnson, if he had caught everything or even a couple of more of those catches, now we're talking about over 100 yards. Now we're talking about maybe another touchdown. Like it was there for him to have a monster day. Chase Claypool with a monster play, 84-yard touchdown, 3 for 88 and a touch on the day. They were picking on Michael Ojemudia. Expect other teams to follow suit. Message to your Buccaneers. 7 for 48 for Juju Smith-Schuster. 3 for 43 for Eric Ebron. Didn't score touchdowns. The Broncos have that feather in their cap, I guess. James Conner over 100 yards, 59-yarder to put him over the top. 16 for 106 and a touchdown. And in back-to-back weeks, the Broncos have struggled with power backs, both giving 100 yards to each, James Conner and Derrick Henry. So the Steelers get the win, but it should have been a lot easier.
Yeah, it doesn't, as a Steelers fan, you don't feel like this is great. This team's everything's on schedule. You don't want to let a game be this close whenever you have such superiority. You mentioned Ojemudia had an easy interception clank off his hands early. Yeah. And then
would you call him Jamudia?
I called him Oh No Jamudia.
Jamudia.
Yeah. Roethlisberger recovered. It wasn't Roethlisberger's sharpest day, and it was classic Roethlisberger, hanging in back there, looking to make those big throws. Yeah.
The pump fake where he doesn't let go of the ball.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to miss those, dude. I saw that today, and I was like, we're pretty close to not seeing Ben play again. And I'm like, I'm going to miss those, dude.
Yeah.
Those are fun.
Especially when you're throwing to Chase Claypool, and maybe he is an outside receiver. I mean, granted, it's not like he's beating world-class corners.
He's a nice receiver for a tight end.
Yeah. He gets the deep ball. As you said, Deontay Johnson looks like he's going to be the number one receiver for this team. So I think that Johnson, if you got him, you're loving it. Ebron, if he can't do it against the Broncos with Roethlisberger throwing for over 300, then you're probably going to drop him. James Conner. Let's unpack this a little bit because there's a lot, man. The week 1 waiver wire, check in a week later, on all of these guys, Snell, Malcolm Brown, James Robinson, like that's the guy that you wanted after all if he was out there. So you look at Connor's line and you think Connor had a resoundingly good performance to take the job back. He did take the job back. Benny Snell had a fumble that opened the door for the Broncos to be in this game. So that is going to really close the door on Snell. It wasn't like Connor was doing very much in this game until a 50, 60-yard run to close it. Yeah, 59-yarder to close it out. So maybe to be continued, but at least for the next few weeks, I think you're going to see Connor be the guy. Connor didn't show me anything that he's so decisively better than Benny Snell, but Connor was able to not fumble when the game was on the line, basically. Houston next week, and we'll see. I think that any team thinking about anything after this week should really be stepping back and remembering it's a long, long way until the playoffs. It's a long way until you're thinking about anything. You're just thinking about the week in front of you. So it's good that the Steelers started 2-0, but we're neurotic Steelers fans. We're going to find some flaws in it. And the biggest story here, of course, is James Conner taking the job back. But we may have another chapter of this story yet.
Adam Gase could be the first head coach relieved of his duties. Mike Zimmer.
You just got an extension, Cecil.
I know. So hey, you're stuck with him. There you go. 2011, Minnesota loses to the Indianapolis Colts. Colts 1-1. Vikings 0-2. Kirk Cousins throws 3 picks. 11 for 26, 113 yards, 3 interceptions. Justin Jefferson 3 for 44. Adam Thielen 3 for 31. BC Johnson 1 for 24. Dalvin Cook gets a rushing touchdown, 14 for 63 and a touch, couple catches, 8 yards as well. This is awful. Yeah. Disaster. DEFCON, I always forget which one is the most severe.
Yeah, right.
5 or 1?
1 or
5?
1 means we're at war. 1 means it's on.
DEFCON 1.
Yeah.
Mike Zimmer, what's going on?
Yeah, this looks like a team headed for a top 5 pick. And Jacksonville has their 2nd round pick, right? Just tied up a lot more money with Kirk Cousins. This is not the blueprint. This is not the coach. This is not the team. They got there within 1 game of the Super Bowl, and I think we can kind of put a wrap on it. Thielen actually got some numbers early, but didn't end up with much in this game. They let Dalvin Cook. It's almost like they know the fantasy football crowd is on the edge of their seats because Dalvin Cook's getting bailed out by garbage time. Fantasy football players cannot live on garbage time alone. So try again, see if somebody's just box score watching and try to trade Dalvin Cook, see what you can get for him because, this is like the worst of both worlds. Because, yes, the defense is bad and they're going to get themselves in garbage time mode, but the offense is so anemic when the game is within a couple of scores that you can't catch up. There's no garbage time isn't nourishing anybody here. Not Irv Smith, not Justin Jefferson, Olabisi Johnson. It was just a miserable day for Kirk Cousins. A miserable day by halftime. And the Colts defense, and again, we're recontextualizing, right? And I don't need to really say this because we're going to get to the Jacksonville-Tennessee game. Yeah, Jacksonville's offense and Gardner Minshew doing what they did against Indy last week. Now we're saying something. Now we're saying, oh, okay, this is a legit offense. Minshew's a legit quarterback running a scheme and taking these plays from the chalkboard to the field. Meanwhile, with Minnesota, I don't know if we're usually talking about this in like week 8, week 9, week 10, because we know that Cousins isn't necessarily the most likable quarterback among his teammates.
He's a little weird. He's a little odd.
That
was kind of the book on him when he was a free agent out there.
So at what point, this team gets Tennessee next week, at what point do the Vikings start to lose focus? At what point do the Vikings, especially, the other thing that I have to think about, Cecil, is during COVID times, does that time when teams start to look ahead to the January tee times, does that time come earlier? That's what the Vikings look like today. We got to give some credit to the Colts. But 2 weeks in a row, Cecil, I guess that Vikings-Packers game was 8-7 for a little bit or something like that. So, they kind of hung in. But I'm just going to say they were barely competitive. They were about as competitive as the Jets have been through 2 games. That is not where you want to be.
That's bad, right?
Yeah.
Eesh. Okay. Phillip Rivers, 19 of 25, 214 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. It was Mo Alley Cox's day. There's a waiver wire tight end for you. 5 for 111. Zach Pascal, 1 touchdown, 3 for 19, though. Michael Pittman Jr., 4 for 37. T.Y. Hilton, 3 for 28. Paris is nowhere except for a rush for 7 yards, right? And then Jonathan Taylor, 26, 101, and a touchdown. Let's name who wasn't hurt this week, Bloom.
Right.
It might be a shorter list.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's the thing here. Is it's just so many injuries. Paris Campbell set up a smash spot, I think the kids call it, in DFS, and he gets a knee injury right away. We'll see how seriously it is. How serious it is. Zach Pascal gets touchdown. Michael Pittman gets some catches here. T.Y. Hilton does little nothing, drops an easy touchdown. Dare I say, well, they're facing the Jets next week, so I don't want to say we're putting Hilton on our bench, but we're probably putting Hilton on our bench. Hope he goes off against the Jets and everything gets back to normal. Because without Campbell, now you've paved the way for Hilton. Maybe you paved the way for Mo Alley Cox. Love this guy. Cecil's not on the waiver wire in any of my leagues. No.
All right, Dikembe. All right,
yes.
Dikembe.
Although I have to give credit to some of the people out there in my leagues who already were rostering him. You know who you are. Anyway, he's just so massive, Cease. He's just so tough to bring down. He makes the football look like one of those little kid Nerf footballs with those big old mitts. And listen, this is how the day went for Alley Cox. First drive, I think it was the first drive, Rivers, just drills one off his chest for an interception in the end zone. I mean, Alley Cox should have caught it. But he still has a big day, and he still has a day. And here's a key number for you. 25 attempts for Rivers, 40 rushes, really 36, 35 if you take away Campbell's, 35, 25. That's what they want, not what happened last week. So, and then we get to Nyheim Hines. And I can't remember which Colts beat writer it was. Should have heeded this beat writer. That Hines might just be a game script specific player. Now, I have a lot of remorse about being strong positive for Hines because he was involved early against the Jags. It did not seem like it was a function of how the game was going. But in this game, they came out and they just weren't going to use Hines. They were going to use a lot of Taylor. And you saw Rivers play a decent game. There wasn't really any point this game was in question. And those kinds of games, like the Jets next week, those are going to be bad games for Hines. I think he's going to be a hold on piece, not a shut him down, but we're going to have to pick our spots carefully with them. And, now Indy is feeling good. They won a game they're supposed to win. And again, after watching the Jacksonville, Tennessee game, maybe that loss to Jacksonville on the road doesn't look so bad in the hotly contested AFC South.
Let's look at Jacksonville now. 33-30, they fall to the Tennessee Titans. That is the final score. Gardner Minshew puts up a hell of a fight, 30-45, 339 yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 INTs in this one. It was DJ Chark leading the way with 4 for 84. Keelan Cole was 6 for 58 and a touchdown. Chris Conley, 4 for 48. James O'Shaughnessy, 4 for 40. Tyler Eifert with a touchdown. Cool. Chris Thompson with another touchdown, 3 for 20 and a touch for Chris. And then Visca getting 3 for 35 as a receiver. So there's your passing touchdowns, although I think I missed one on there. No, Thompson, Eifert. Oh, Keelan Cole. I got all 3. Okay, good. We're keeping track of them. The rushing touchdown for James Robinson, my Mr. $250 man, 16 for 102 and a rushing touchdown and 3 for 18 as a receiver. So that formula is working. And 33-30, the formula the Jags have, is almost working to put up a fight like this against Tennessee.
Yeah, they trailed the whole game. When Minshew came out and had a terrible interception to open, terrible interception, and then had a magnificent game. See, so we hear about spreading the ball around. 8 receivers caught the ball. 8 receivers caught 3 balls. And I mean, for fantasy, not necessarily what we're looking for, unless you're talking about Minshew and everything intersecting in him. But as far as running an offense and showing maturity as a quarterback and really mastery of the playbook and mastery of the plays, Minshew's there. Robinson looks great. Great as a runner. This is a viable offense. Robinson's going to be a viable running back too. Congratulations if you got him like Cecil did. Chark got the big play. But again, They're spreading it around. Eifert looked like Eifert of old, like Jordan Reed, turning back the clock, turning back the injury, degradation, deterioration. But again, as they spread the ball around, James O'Shaughnessy coming through here. Keelan Cole coming on. Certainly he's staying on our radar. Again, maybe not a safe play week to week going up against Miami this week. It's going to be fun. And then the touchdown, the tying touchdown, the 30-30 tying touchdown to Chris Thompson was beautiful. It was a beautiful touch pass, and Chris Thompson made an excellent play on the ball. And you're just seeing Gardner Minshew showing an array of ability to make throws, to take these concepts and execute them well and really understand them. So again, we're looking ahead to this Miami game. Now, this is going to be fun to watch Jacksonville. They're not the Weekend at Bernie's franchisees. They're Major League. They're going to win anyway.
They are going to win anyway. Let's look at Tennessee and Ryan Tannehill. This is the third time in his career he's had 4 passing touchdowns. 18-24, 239 yards, 4 TDs. And there we go. No picks, by the way. Only sacked 1 time. Jonnu Smith, 4 for 84 and 2 touchdowns. Another waiver wire guy we'll be talking about. You might have picked him up already based on week 1. Adam Humphries, 5 for 48 and a touch. Corey Davis, 3 for 36 and a touchdown. You see that. Anthony Firksker with 4 for 45. No A.J. Brown in this one. But Derrick Henry, 25 for 84 in this contest. And there you go. That's the formula. And Tannehill showing his fit with this offense.
Can Ryan Tannehill remain hyper efficient in 2020? Yes, he can. And I think that if Gostkowski had been better, Gostkowski, I think, missed an extra point in this one too. If he'd been better in week 1 and it had been a more comfortable win, we maybe would have given him a little more due for what he did against Denver in week 1. But he's still an excellent passer. He's just making optimal decisions and executing. He's executing so well. The 4th touchdown under pressure to Adam Humphries was just trusting his guys and trusting himself. Jonnu Smith I think both Jonnu Smith and Raheem Mostert, Cease, they both had like 15 fantasy points, 14 fantasy points, and it was 5 minutes into the week. That's how Jonnu Smith was doing. Long catch and run. Then he gets a touchdown. Then he gets another touchdown. Corey Davis, note here, shook C.J. Henderson for his touchdown, which is, again, C.J. Henderson coming along, Jacksonville coming along real quickly. And I want to say hats off to Jacksonville for the job they did on Derrick Henry. See, it's an annual tradition that when Tennessee faces Jacksonville, there's going to be some embarrassing play, right? Something that looks really bad. Like he's going to stiff arm one Jacksonville guy and knock down 3 others or something, Like he's going to do something. Jacksonville really played him tough in this one, which is part of the reason they hung in this game. Tennessee earned it. Then Tennessee goes on to Minnesota. Is week 3 too early for a trap game? If it was week 4, if I say trap game. But Tennessee, they don't need any smelling salts. Jacksonville came in, popped them a few times. They popped back. Tannehill made the plays he needed to for them to get over the hump and win this one. Jacksonville's given us like 2 of the 5 most entertaining games so far this year, Cease.
It's been fun, but not as fun as Cowboys and Falcons, at least if you're a Cowboys fan. Anyway, Atlanta gets up big in this one, 20-0 after 1. But 40-39 is the final score. We'll get to that ending in just a little bit because that onside kick, which we've already alluded to, like, seriously, you can touch it, Atlanta. If it's not 10 yards, you can go and jump on the ball and it's just over. You don't have to wait to see if it gets to 10 yards. I mean, if they change that rule, a lot more teams would get onside kicks because you just run down there and box guys out, right? And then jump on the ball. But it was very well executed. Love the spin on the ball. Cowboys get that win. We'll talk about their offense, but let's talk about the Falcons offense first. 4 touchdowns for Matt Ryan, 24-36, 273 yards. Again, not the king of garbage time like he normally is. This is regular time. 7 for 109 and 2 touchdowns for Calvin Ridley. Hayden Hurst, we wanted to see what he looked like this week. Bloom, 5 for 72 and a touchdown there. Russell Gage, 6 for 46. Julio, 2 for 24. Todd Gurley, 21 for 61. And this team was on their way to a victory and then totally botched up. And by the way, the Cowboys almost gave it to him with those 2 stupid punts.
Right.
2 stupid fake punts. So the Cowboys are just like, here's a win. Take it. And Atlanta's like, blah, 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 bobble it. And then the Cowboys get it.
For fantasy, it did end up being this is the game you wanted to stack as many ways as you could for DFS. And congrats if you did, or congrats if you just broke ties in favor of players in this game. There was a much more interesting story in the game itself. Matt Ryan was good. Dallas immediately came over came to turn the ball over repeatedly. They didn't convert all those to touchdowns. You did see Hayden Hurst looking good after not having to face Seattle this week. You see Calvin Ridley looking good. Ito Smith was actually in at the goal line over Todd Gurley right before one of those Ridley touchdowns. Russell Gage had one of the best throws of the day, Cease. He put it right on Julio's hands for a long touchdown, and Julio couldn't bring it in. What happened? Julio, what happened? Julio was the zonk in this game. 39 points, and you aren't happy you played Julio Jones or Todd Gurley. You would have thought he would have got in there. But, this is Atlanta, and you don't want to go back to 28-3. They went 2 down here in New Orleans. You just wonder. There's chances for them to put this game away earlier. They were trying to coast in and get the win. It's a stirring win for Dallas. NFC East is going to be the worst division in football again, so maybe this is the kind of thing that can ignite them to that 8-8 playoff run. But for Atlanta, after we watch them get thoroughly outclassed in their own house against Seattle, then we see the Cowboys really trying. Cecil was Alphonse and Gaston back in the day. No, after you. No, after you. After you. I insist. No, after you. That was Dallas at the beginning of this game. Please, you have this win. You come into our stadium and embarrass us. And Atlanta still could not finish. Chicago, the 2-0. How are they 2-0? Should they be 2-0? Chicago Bears coming.
Dak Prescott. 34, 47, 450 yards and a touchdown. But he wasn't done because he had 3 rushing touchdowns. That is officially a 1, 2, 3, baby. If you watch F for Family, you know what I'm talking about. If not, well, catch up. Ezekiel Elliott, 22 carries, 89 yards, 1 rushing touchdown on the day, 6 for 33 as a receiver. Dalton Schultz, 9 for 88 and a touchdown. There's a waiver wire tight end for you. There's some help out there for you people. C.D. Lamb, 6 for 106 in this one. Amari Cooper, 6 for 100. And Michael Gallup, couple catches, 58 yards in this contest. Here we go. How about them Cowboys? And anytime there are fans in games, Bloom, and this time it was 20,000 fans. It's always, I guess 2020 is just like, people. I feel like that monster out of Bugs Bunny. When he sees people, it's like, people. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Hey, fans, 20,000. Jerry Jones, masked up. High-fiving his grandkids. Awesome.
Yeah, it was quite a similar landing. Going into this one, you're a little bit worried because Tyron Smith was out. Now you're down to 4th and 5th string offensive tackles. And we had seen at one point when Tyron Smith was out, and I think it overlapped with Ezekiel Elliott's suspension. But there was a point when Dak Prescott looked like he was really going to have trouble moving the offense at all a few years back without Tyron Smith. Not a problem in this one, in part because, again, Atlanta kind of let up, but some of this is we're going to target that Atlanta defense going forward. Dak Prescott comes out and fumbles. Zeke fumbles. Zeke gets a touchdown. Dak gets a little shaken up. Still rushing touchdown. Actually, 3 rushing touchdowns in this one. The biggest thing, of course, as you mentioned a few times, is 2 fake punts in your own end. How do you win a game when you have 2 failed fake punts? See, there's losing the turnover battle, but there's also losing the fake punt battle. I think that when you lose the fake punt battle 2-0, again, Chase Stewart, look this up for us. Has a team ever lost the fake punt battle 2-0 in a game and still won the game? Lots of strange things afoot in week 2. Dalton Schultz, there was nothing that special about what Dalton Schultz did. Dalton Schultz doing his Austin Hooper impression in this one. But hey, the points
Stanford
all count.
Guys, right?
Right.
Stanford guys. There you
the
go.
Points all count the same. And he's going to get those targets. It makes you sad in a way if you drafted Blake Jarwin, because I think Blake Jarwin, if he gets the same targets, probably gets 50 more yards on those targets. But Dalton Schultz does well. We'll talk about him on the waiver wire show. The onside kick, you got to see it to believe it. Michael Gallup is maybe the odd man out in this pass offense. CD Lamb is doing more of the short stuff. CD Lamb getting a nice catch to set up the game-winning field goal. Amari Cooper had a real nice one-handed catch to fuel his day. Through two and a half quarters, it looked like it was going to be an underwhelming day for the Dallas offense against a poor Atlanta defense. But then some things happened on the way. Dallas going to Seattle next week. That's going to be fun.
That's going to be awesome. Rams and Eagles, not so very awesome. I'm sure Jason Wood is down in the dumps. 37-19, the final score. The Rams, Jared Goff, 267 and 3 touchdowns in this one. All 3 of them to Tyler Higbee. The answer is Tyler Higbee. Cooper Kupp 5 for 81. Higbee with 5 for 54 in those 3 touchdowns. Van Jefferson 4 for 45. And then Robert Woods 2 for 14 in this contest. Darrell Henderson 12 for 81 and a rushing touchdown. Cam Akers hurt in this one. Robert Woods, by the way, rushing touchdown as well. And then Darrell Henderson 2 for 40 as a receiver in this one. Malcolm Brown 11 for 47. So yes, week 2 and the twists and turns and the like sands through the hourglass. Right. These are the days of fantasy football players.
And everything was easy for Jared Goff. So, again, we're going to give some credit to Sean McVay. We're also going to say Philadelphia's defense, no, especially at the way they lost against Washington, who were watching Arizona. Right now, Woods did have that walk-in rushing touchdown on an end around. Higbee had easy touchdowns, play-action touchdowns, easy touchdowns, one a long touchdown. Cooper Kupp did okay. Van Jefferson more involved, actually, than Robert Woods. Then you have Darrell Henderson coming on with the garbage time touchdown here. It was actually Cam Akers' rib injury on a goal-to-go carry, so it wasn't even as well as Malcolm Brown ran. And Mike Garafolo, alum of 5 Minute Drill, it said they're going to split it all 3 ways. At least that's the plan. So with Akers' injury, we'll see what the plan is. Next week, they're going to Buffalo. They're 2-0, but they face 2 NFC East teams. So we don't really know how good this team is. Week 3, setting up to be a pretty good week of football.
Eagles side. Carson Wentz, couple of picks, 242 yards. Did have a rushing touchdown, though, to help out his day. Miles Sanders was back. Bloom, how'd he look? 20 for 95 and a rushing touchdown. And 3 for 36 as a receiver. Deshaun Jackson, 6 for 64. Zach Ertz, 5 for 42. Dallas Goedert, 4 for 30. Okay. Jalen Reagor, 4 for 41. And here we go again. Eagles fans, you are suffering.
This is bad. I mean, it seems like when Carson Wentz throws an interception, the other team grows 2 sizes. It's just every time Wentz throws a pick, the other team really gets emboldened by that. But the Rams controlled this game. There was a point that the Eagles were within 8 points, I think within 5 points. Sanders had a fumble early. He had a 2-point conversion he could have converted. He had stuffed at the goal line that Wentz then converted with a sneak after that. So there was a bigger day there for Miles Sanders, but you have to like the way they used him. You have to like the way that he turned that into production. Zach Ertz at least gave you some confidence to put you back in his lineup in PPR leagues. Dallas Goedert, after the big week 1, not doing as much. These are floor games for him. He's to that point where 4 for 30, which is a median game for some guys that remain on fantasy rosters at tight end, is a floor game for him. There was one play, he was wide open. The play worked perfectly. He was wide open. Didn't see him. Would have been a touchdown. We would be talking about his day a little bit differently. Lane Johnson coming back didn't mean that much. Sanders, his touchdown came after Cooper Kupp muffed a punt, so they needed some help from the Rams to get back in this game. This isn't a good team. This isn't a good offense. This isn't a good defense. They're facing the Bengals next week, so maybe they can still win, still keep their season with a pulse and not fall to 0-3. But this was a game that they were never in, and since you don't get the feeling, there was that magical aura around the Eagles after their Super Bowl win. It's gone. Dust in the wind.
Yep, and that's Joe always says it. Things change pretty quickly around here. That they do, and then they're gone. 17-13, the final score. Mitchell Trubisky doubters, are they gone? Are they just waiting in the wings for him to screw up again? Bears are 2-0. Giants are 0-2. They lose Saquon Barkley in this one. I don't even really want to go through the box score, Bloom, and I don't really want to go beyond the box score because I love watching Saquon Barkley run the ball, and now he's got a knee injury, and I would guess, recording Sunday afternoon, he's probably going to miss the rest of the year.
Yeah, I think that, it's just not as fun to watch football on Sundays without Saquon Barkley, the fear torn ACL.
Yep.
Robert Quinn makes his impact early in his return. They get a sack fumble, turn that around. Daniel Jones is still valiant, Cease. He's never going to give up. They had a chance to win this game. Some of that's because of the Bears. We'll talk about that. They had a chance to win this game. Dion Lewis got all the touches, including enough in the touchdown and enough in the passing game to seem viable. But beware, Wayne Gallman was inactive for this one, so we're not really sure. In San Francisco next week, even though they got their own injury problems. Sterling Shepard also got hurt in this one, by the way. Looked like maybe a foot injury. At least Evan Ingram was back doing something. Golden Tate getting offensive pass interference on the play where they had a chance to win. So some suspect play calling, taking 5 yards. Cecil, would you rather have 2 shots from the 14 or 1 shot from the 9? That was the choice. You have chosen poorly, the Giants. San Francisco coming. Chicago's 2-0, but either game, either one of these games, you cannot feel like the Bears are a good team or a team that earned these wins as much as they were given these wins.
Right. Bears side of things, Mitchell Trubisky, 18 of 28, 190 yards, 2 up and 2 down this one. David Montgomery getting 1 receiving touchdown, 3 for 45, and a touchdown as a receiver, 16 for 82 as a runner. Darnell Mooney, he's got plenty of speed. Kid's got some wheels, 3 for 36 and a touchdown there. Really, Allen Robinson, 3 for 33. Did they make up yet? Just Anthony Miller. Remember the excitement around him? Like, wow, Anthony Miller. And then what happens if A-Rob gets traded and then he had nothing? Nothing. Fantasy football. You're a wicked mistress, but we love you.
Yeah, we do. David Montgomery landed on his head, literally on his head. Left the game with a neck injury. Comes back in and is looking good. About the most bursts I've seen on a David Montgomery run. But still they can't close out the Giants completely. The Giants defense is bad. It's not a good defense. The Bears still can't pull away in this one. Anthony Miller dropped a touchdown. At least Allen Robinson got 9 targets. That is your consolation here. You're going to stick with him because they have the Falcons up next week. You saw Darnell Mooney get that touchdown, and it was Ted Ginn inactive in this one, by the way. Jimmy Graham, his little flirtation with fantasy value is over. There was even a play here on a 4th down. They needed a big 4th down conversion. It was a play that got broken up. Bobby Massey, one of their offensive tackles, caught the ball and converted the first down. The gods even said, here, you can have this. And the Giants still had a chance to win at the end of the game. So Bears 2-0. They'll see what they do against Atlanta next week.
Okay, we'll see what the Packers can continue to do as they roll on 42-21. They're 2-0. The Lions are 0-2, and Matthew Stafford goes 20 of 33, 244 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 INT. The touchdowns, 1 to Marvin Hall, 1 to Marvin Jones Jr. You started one of those Marvins, and MJJ got 4 for 23 and a touch in this one. TJ Hawkinson 4 for 62 in this one. DeAndre Swift 5 for 60 on 5 targets. He got everything. And then 5 for 12 as a runner. Kerryon Johnson at 8 for 32 and a rushing touchdown. Adrian Peterson had 7 for 41 to lead the way on the ground. Dami Amendola 2 for 21 in this one. So here's the Lions. Here we go. They got a 3-headed backfield. Not a ton of weapons. Galladay still banged up and can score half the points, Eddie, of what your opponent, the Green Bay Packers, do.
They blow the game against the Bears, and then they perform basically according to script in Lambeau. Maybe we chalk this up and say it's Lambeau. They came right down the field and scored. Hey, this is going to be a spirited back and forth game. Kerryon Johnson's still alive. He scored a touchdown. Adrian Peterson still looked like the best runner of the 3. DeAndre Swift gets the receptions. This is like that Miami 3-headed backfield. You're not going to have a lot of fantasy love here. You did get a Marvin Jones short touchdown. Marvin Hall catching the other touchdown. TJ Hawkinson did enough. Matthew Stafford had a terrible pick 6, an easy pick 6. See, a pick 6 that you or I might have had a chance to make. It was just, you don't want to see ever these kind of throws. What else is there to say? I know our man Mac in the chat room says Patricia, another coach who desperately needs to be canned. We get used to seeing this, right? We don't love reruns. We don't want to watch the same show over and over again, and that's kind of what we saw here. But the show that it might be a rerun of next week, Detroit going to Arizona, that was one of the best games of the year last year in week 1. So that could be fun, although Arizona's trying to say, yeah, we're not down there with you guys. We're up here. So the Lions have to show that they're not down there after they're starting 0-2 and 0-2 in the division.
Aaron Rodgers. Well, you score 42 points. You're thinking, wow, big day for Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, It was okay. 18 of 30, 240 yards, 2 touchdowns, no INTs. The big day was Aaron Jones, 18 for 168, 2 rushing touchdowns, 4 for 68, and a receiving touchdown. Marcus Valdez-Scantling, 3 for 64. Alan Lazard, 3 for 45. So there's our debate, Bloom. Like, who is that number 2? And, well, they both had 3 catches, but MVS had 7 targets. Lazard had 5. Devontae Adams, 3 targets, 3 for 36 on the day. So, yeah, you're going to take those type of days. And you'll definitely take those type of days if you started Aaron Jones this week.
Oh, yeah. Isn't this great? I mean, maybe Aaron Jones is actually going to cost the Packers some money for not extending him. Or maybe the Packers are going to do the wrong thing and let him leave in free agency. But he's just fantastic.
They have A.J. Dillon, dude.
Yeah, second-round pick. Look at those thighs. Aaron Jones makes the best catch of the day. He makes the best run of the day. His touchdown off and running, even without those plays, he still would have been a fantasy success in this one. And now we look back at him going in the 3rd round a few weeks ago and saying, ooh, even if you got in the 2nd round, ooh, he's a 1st-round pick. Bobby Tonyan got a touchdown because of how this game went. Yeah, Devontae Adams didn't do much. Okay, it happens. Lazard, Valdez-Scantling, they did get some nice plays, but didn't get the big play, the touchdown, to help your lineup get over the hump. That's okay. It was just too easy. Sorry. Blame it on the Lions. Blame it on Matt Patricia. This game was just too easy for them, even though they put up the 42 points. And despite all, including myself, proclamations of gloom and doom after their draft, no, they are one of the elite teams, again, in the NFC. But they come down here to New Orleans. See, week 3, Green Bay, New Orleans. Ding, ding, fight.
Fight. Finish him. By the way, guess who didn't drop Leonard Fournette?
This guy. Good work.
This guy. All right, 31-17. Last time we faced Denver, he had like 200 yards. So there's week 3 for Tampa Bay. We're moving on because it was 31-17. They beat Panthers. They are 1-1 now. Panthers are 0-2. We'll get to Tommy in just a little bit, but let's talk about Teddy. I love the fact that he has an opportunity. And then, performances like this, couple of picks, not really doing a whole lot till the second half when they got those 17 points. They were skunked. It was 21-0 at the at halftime. So, okay, Teddy need to be better. 367 at the end of the day. But Bloom, you kept talking about nutrition earlier, talking about garbage time. Garbage time's like fast food. Like, it'll get you by, but you won't be healthy. Your roster won't be healthy. So, yeah, okay, Teddy got some garbage, but oof. DJ Moore, 8 for 120. Robbie Anderson, 9 for 109. Awesome. Christian McCaffrey, 4 for 29 as a receiver. And then 18 for 59 and 2 rushing touchdowns on the day for the Carolina Panthers, but they fall short. And I just don't want Teddy to be a one-and-done starter. And now the Panthers are sitting there looking at 0-2. And a team gets 0-2, you're staring at Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
Trey Lance. You're 0-2. You're sitting there staring at those 3 top 10 quarterbacks.
Yeah, Teddy's not making it difficult for them to decide. Not that he's playing poorly, but he's just not adding that little extra oomph to get them over the hump. When do we see PJ Walker? See what PJ Walker can do? I mean, that's something even to think about here. They were just overmatched, and Christian McCaffrey got hurt. As it was, they were overmatched. Tampa Bay is just a rough defense to face. What you did see is DJ Moore bounce back. You also saw Robbie Anderson stick around. It was Curtis Samuel who's not going to be doing as much in this passing game. He's the one we can kick to the curb. So maybe Moore is going to provide that 3rd or 4th round value after all if Bridgewater remains the quarterback and we continue to get these game scripts for him to throw a lot. But Anderson's going to join him with some tremendous value. We did see also Anderson draw pass interference in the end zone, by the way, or it could have been a bigger day for him. Mike Davis comes in, catches a lot of passes out of the backfield, so we'll be talking about him on the waiver wire show, Cease, depending on what we hear about Christian McCaffrey's ankle. And Carolina going to a very interesting team based on what we're watching right now, Cease. The Chargers, potentially 2-0 Chargers. Did I just bloom them? Certainly.
It's only halftime, baby.
Yeah. And it's the Chargers fans like, shh. We got some good luck. Actually got some good luck last week. But yeah, TB, Tom Brady, Tampa Bay, not exactly the kind of win that makes you think, oh, yeah, this team's on their way.
Oh, yeah. How about Tampa Bay and Tommy? 217, 1 touchdown, 1 INT. Mike Evans, 7 for 104 and a touch. And It could have been more. He could have got double this in this matchup. They just called off the dogs and said, hey, Leonard Fournette, go run the ball. 12 for 103 and 2 rushing touchdowns. Ronald Jones, 7 for 223, sorry. Ronald Jones for 1,000,000 yards. Oh, wait, 23 and 1 rushing touchdown. Justin Watson gets 2 for 48. LaShawn McCoy, 5 for 26. Fournette had 4 for 13 as a receiver. Tight ends do anything. Gronk's doing nothing. Like, that's a nice story, everybody. It's not nice for your fantasy team, although they do play Denver next week, Bloom. So there you go.
Yeah. Brady, you would have thought, this was a Carolina defense that did not hit Derek Carr last week. So you thought it would have been good. But, Scotty Miller dropped a touchdown. LaShawn McCoy dropped a touchdown. So there was more there for Tom Brady, but it still wasn't an overall performance. It wasn't an overall performance for Mike Evans. Mike Evans is good. He and Brady are going to be the thing, even whenever Godwin comes back. Nothing there for the tight ends. McCoy got some catches early, but still very modest. You did see Ronald Jones have a walk-in touchdown early, and then there was a fumbled exchange, and we did see a little bit of Ronald Jones, but then it was Leonard Fournette. Now, again, Fournette wasn't unbelievably impressive on most of his runs. But at the end of the game, he had a 25-yarder as Carolina was getting worn down, and then that 50-yarder to close it out to put up a really nice fantasy game. So your best ball leagues, you probably didn't start him this week. Your best ball leagues, you're liking that. Against Denver, well, Denver's not going to be an easy out, but we saw Connor get that long run against them late, so maybe that's what you're looking at. So I haven't changed my opinion of Leonard Fournette, the player, but I think that now the door is open for him to be Peyton Barber plus. I don't think Ronald Jones is going to totally go away and just be ushered out the door either. I think we're still looking at a frustrating backfield to project, a frustrating team to project, unless we're talking about Mike Evans. I think the one thing we do know, again, is that Rob Gronkowski, it's a interest story. It's kind of like if Tom Brady's going to play here, he can dictate something like that. But unfortunately for fantasy, we can close the book on him. Close the book on these 10 games, and it's a lot.
Yeah, 3 games left, but I'll piece them together in the audio version, so you just get the whole shooting shebang and shucks
enchilada.
Yeah, sorry, Joe. But there you go. That's a wrap. We'll get these 3 games done, and we'll be back with part 2. By the way, sprained AC joint for Drew Lock, 2 to 6 weeks missed.
Yeah, but Mostert, mild MCL sprain. So, and we didn't get to mention this one. Just said McCarthy gets his job saved, at least for another day.
That's correct. Okay, everyone, we will be back after the afternoon games. Do a quick little 3-game recap, and of course, much love. He's Sigmund Bloom. I'm Cecil Lammey. Do all those YouTube things. Like, comment, share, subscribe, and thanks for spreading the word about football guys. So for Sigmund, I'm Cecil. Be back a little bit later. Everyone stay tuned and stay frosty.